Hello, everyone. What rights does an individual have in the Russian Federation? Who has asked himself this question? Physical persons do not have rights, responsibilities, and other benefits. A physical person can be compared to a commodity, without a soul or feelings. Why then does a person recognize himself as a physical person? The Convention on Human Rights. The Convention on Human Rights contains a lot of rules. For whom? Read it. It uses such a term as person very often. What about a person? When I read and study any informational text, first of all I look at the meanings. Open this convention right here. You can find it in English online. And with the key combination Ctrl+F type first face, then person, and count how many times and where each word occurs. Believe me, you will be surprised. So how does this document protect the person? First of all, according to the universe's rules, only those who are able to take responsibility and are capable of doing so are recognized as human beings. I have written about this on other pages of my blog. Other human beings who have shown signs of incapacity, such as cheating, theft, murder, fraud, etc., who have been caught or are under investigation automatically receive the status of person. Persons no longer have as many rights as a human subject. Therefore, when a person behaves like a person, he is protected from all that is imposed on a person. In addition, a person who has forgotten what the universe's rules are and who voluntarily accepts the definition of a physical or legal person also falls under the jurisdiction of Roman law and English maritime law. This jurisdiction is an advocacy tool for corporations and bankers to govern persons. In turn, in this jurisdiction, a person equals a commodity. A commodity has a passport, a human doesn't have it. A commodity has a QR code, a human doesn't have it. A commodity can be vaccinated, sold, cheated, etc. Because by definition it cannot have a soul, through the procedure of restricting rights and freedoms, absolutely legally. The definition of universe's rules and law. The universe's rules is the irrefutable truth, created by God the Creator, in all instances, legal fields, defining the relationships of human beings. Law is the irrefutable rules created by men, for the preservation of peace and order on earth, for all individuals, legal entities, citizens, companies, corporations, etc. Artificially created titles. A person who is unwilling or unaware of the meaning of life according to the universe's rules is obliged to live by the laws. In such a case, he is recognized as a person, not a person. If such laws are violated, the person is restricted in his liberties or deprived of life. Don't believe it is written in the laws. Read the entire Convention on Human Rights and see for yourself, it's all clearly spelled out there, for persons. Considering all of the above is logical, understandable, and applicable to the perception, one can conclude, man is a higher and more intelligent form of life than the person. In what is the difference between a person and a human being expressed? Money, taxes, fines, and governments. A picture to develop imaginative thinking about how, in reality, the system of law perceives the person, physical person. A human subject does not equal physical person, a human subject does not equal citizen, and a citizen of the Russian Federation equals physical person. If someone with a foreign passport issued by a commercial company of the Russian Federation comes to the bank to open a bank account, he will be refused. Banks do not work with individuals, they only work with legal entities and individuals. Thus, the system of laws operating in our country of the USSR limits the rights of most people. Governments. It is also worthwhile to reveal a very important legal point. Man equals citizen of the USSR. These definitions are equivalent since March 17, 1991, when the referendum on the adoption of the new constitution of the USSR took place. There is no point in disclosing all the nuances in this article, maybe in another one. The only country in the world where the citizen became the holder of human rights and freedoms on all legal grounds was the USSR after March 17, 1991. Therefore, the passport of a citizen of the USSR is not a person's identity card. For example, the passport of the Russian Federation does not equal the passport of the USSR. Why? The Russian Federation or Russia is a commercial company. It is not a country. Anyone who recognizes himself as a citizen of the Russian Federation recognizes himself as a commodity. Why is the Russian Federation not a country? Distinctive and main attributes of the country. Constitution, territory, jurisdiction. The Russian Federation does not have a constitution that would be recognized by the UN and other countries as a state. There is no territory, but there is jurisdiction. When the top brass of the USSR betrayed power in 1991, there was no transfer of power from the governing bodies of the USSR to the governing bodies of the Russian Federation. No constitution was adopted in Russia. There was a vote by the citizens of the USSR for the draft constitution, not for the constitution itself. There was no government act of transferring territory to the newly formed state, because there was no country formed. There was simply a change of jurisdiction. The governing bodies of the state power went under the jurisdiction of a commercial company of the Russian Federation. You don't believe that? Ask at the UN if there is such a country as the USSR and if the USSR is still the main founder of the UN. You will learn many interesting things. It is necessary to understand the simple essence of things contained in words and legal terms. Then it becomes clear how the obfuscation, the planting of ignorance in the heads of people takes place. The goal is to control and manipulate them. Money, taxes and responsibilities. If you realize that you are a human being, then from all of the above, determine whether you are obliged to pay taxes if you are not a citizen. I am not only talking about the Russian Federation, but also about Belarus, Ukraine, the United States, Guadeloupe, and Honduras, among others. For example, you come to Thailand to live there, work remotely and earn money. Do you have to pay taxes to Thailand? A reasonable person would say no. It's obvious and undeniable, but a person will start figuring out who to pay, how much and how much. In general, the point is not even where you are territorially, but how much knowledge you have to feel like a free man. That is the point! Exclamation mark, exclamation mark. What else is the point? Legal nuances. My name is Eugene, the son of Yuri, that's the man's name. My non-property, intellectual property in the form of a name, Kirilov Yevgeny Yurievich. If I conclude an employment contract, I have to use my full name. The name is in the database of a commercial company of the Russian Federation, and when they transfer my salary, they withhold personal income tax. Personal income tax. Because I introduced myself as a full name. Since I am incapacitated, be kind enough to pay my owner a bribe. But if I worked as a person, for example, did the customer repair, small or large custom work, received the money for the work, then why the hell do I have to pay taxes for a commercial company RF? Does a commercial company of the Russian Federation have a base, where there is a person named Rus Eugene, the son of Yuri from the Kirilov family of the Slavic Aryan clan, who is obliged to pay personal income tax? The RF does not have such a base, since they have it only for individuals and legal entities. So under this option, absolutely legally, I don't have to pay anything to the RF. Do you see the difference? Whatever you call a barge, that's how it sails. You should watch Soviet cartoons and show them to your kids, instead of the crap they show on TV now. I've already posted a video where Gref talks about this openly. Here's another one. In this video, Gref openly declares that no people on earth have power. The science of Kabbalah, which he worships and executes, does not allow people to realize who they are. Whoever can listen carefully will hear and apply. Who doesn't? Well, then wear proudly the title of a physical person and pay the owner a tribute, and for life. Once again about responsibility and legal capacity. If, after all of the above and studied, a person has a question, well, how do I go on living? That's very good. Not so good as when a person does nothing and waits, when he will be given something. It is something like this. This is an animated film made back in the USSR. It creates imaginative thinking in children, urging them to accept the consequences of their actions. I especially like the two of them. They're beautiful. Will you eat candy for me, too? Yeah. In general, who did not see himself immediately leave the site, then you will not be interested. Because then, it is worth throwing a little toughness. What is the difference between a flock of rams from a flock of ewes? This rhetoric, the answer is so obvious: nothing. A herd is when a living being is deprived, or from birth has no will of its own. The human herd at this point in time has more than 90% of the population of the entire Earth Darias without a volition. A picture that shows the actual system of managing people. This was made possible by the blindness of the people themselves. Because of this huge population of incapable, speaking beings, the more intelligent and brash retain control. In their arsenal, religion, law, behind the universe's rules, TV, communications, and money. The point is that even under such tight control and restriction, it is possible to live absolutely well and humanly. Do not lie and you will not be deceived. Do not lie, but have the intelligence to distinguish lies. Say what you think and think what you say. If only these 3 rules were followed in human relationships, life on Earth would change very quickly. I didn't make up these 3 rules, I just formulated them in my own way. Using a simple example of a working relationship, you can see how the picture would change. For example, employer equals person and hired worker equals person. Both parties, without any contracts, came to an agreement on the scope and nature of the work to be done. With a voice, they talked it through, shook hands, and made a deal. The hired man did his part, the employer accepted and paid. No taxes, not even under the law, behind the universe's rules, anyone had to pay. The relationship took place on a human level. Any what if is a manifestation of incompetence. We are talking about responsible and sensible people. Therefore all if this is for physical persons and legal persons. On the case of if there are always laws, everything is spelled out there. Signs of incapacity. The consequences of the ignorance of most people who have become biomass. That's why when people behave like human beings, they are not beholden to the state, commercial companies, tax agencies, prosecutors, the FSB, or any other authority. All of these departments were created so that there would be order among incompetent beings. If you cannot distinguish a lie from the truth, you are incompetent. You think that everyone has his own truth, you're incompetent. Have an opinion and don't know the facts, incompetent. Believe everything you hear, incompetent. Do not develop and do not learn, incompetent. This is only part of the difference between a physical person and a human being. You delegate your health care to therapists in the Russian Federation, incompetent. Voluntarily agree to be vaccinated, incompetent. If you put on a mask, you are incompetent. And there are a lot of other distinguishing signs. The only thing I do not know is when the majority will realize their lack of willpower and finally start to behave like humans. Conclusion. In conclusion, in order to be understood correctly, about jurisdiction, passport, citizenship, etc., I will note the following. Having a passport of the Russian Federation does not make a person legally incompetent. It all depends on what human rights are violated when using it. If a person with an RF passport buys a plane ticket, that's one thing. And if he buys an airplane and registers it with the RF passport, that is another thing. In the first case the person will simply change the location, but in the second case with the probability of 99% he'll lose the plane. I do not call anyone to anything with this article. It is up to each person what to be, an incapacitated physical person or God's child man. I hope the reader has heard and understood that the legal capacity of individuals comes with, never.